My name is Sherry Aguero. I am the counselor in charge for vocational rehabilitation.
My name is Stephen Starnes. I am the business relations representative for vocational rehabilitation. Our old title was job placement specialist, and that's probably what most people would think of us. We assist people in finding employment.
Rehabilitation, commonly referred to as Voc Rehab or VR, is a state agency, and we provide services to individuals who have a disabling condition. We assist with preparing them for employment, as well as assist them with finding employment.
And that's really what we are all about. Vocational rehabilitation sometimes seems a little bit old-fashioned, but vocation simply means working. So we help people find work, find jobs. The rehabilitation part sometimes confuses people because most people think of rehabilitation, rehab, in a very negative way. But what we help people do is find work, help them succeed in finding work, succeed in employment.
Well, there's three things that we look at to determine eligibility for Voc Rehab services. We look at, one, does the student have some type of disabling condition that is documented in some type of records? It could be medical records, mental health records, school records. Two, does that disabling condition cause some type of limitation to employment, like Stephen was saying earlier? And three, is the student able to benefit from VR services? And what I mean by that is, can the student, once they learn the job duties, be able to work independently in competitive employment? Well, a lot of people think of a disabling condition as something that you can see, like somebody in a wheelchair. However, Voc Rehab looks at individuals who may have a developmental disability, such as a learning disability, or a physical disability, which is, the things that you see, somebody in a wheelchair, or somebody possibly with uncontrolled diabetes. And then there's also mental health disabilities, where there may be depression, bipolar, schizophrenia, things like that.
What these disabling conditions do is they create a barrier to employment, either finding a job or a career, or maintaining or keeping a job or career. So what we do is we help the individual find ways over the barrier, through the barrier, around the barrier. We help them find a way to find a meaningful career or job.
Well, we have a policy that we follow, but the VR counselor will be the one following that policy, the eligibility decision. Something that Voc Rehab does is confidential, and so we have to keep the utmost confidentiality within our program and services. I do have individuals that come in, and they're very concerned about fitting in, because in high school that's very important to fit into a particular group. And what we do is we look at the strengths of the individual, and we try to match those strengths with what employers are looking for. And so, once a person is able to do a job, we may not, we may have contact with the individual, but the employer may not see us in there, and then, that person can fit into a group. However, if the individual did not have Voc Rehab services, they may not have been able to even be able to interview for the position, or be able to get the position or maintain the position because of their barriers. And so that is what Voc Rehab comes in and tries to overcome for those individuals needing our services.
And we're very sensitive to the issue of confidentiality. We're very sensitive to the dignity of our clients, our individuals, our students. And so at the point where they're ready to enter the workforce, many times I never reveal to the business community or the prospective employer that this individual is being served by vocational rehabilitation, that they have a barrier to employment. I will sometimes just tell employers that I'm one of the partner agencies with NC Works, which is the old Employment Security Commission, and I tell them that it's my job to help them find employees, and I will then tell them I have someone that matches up with what they're looking for, and never reveal this individual's confidential information.
Well, what we do is we get the referral, we meet with the students and provide them with a packet of information. If they're 18, they will take it home for parents to fill out, sign, and then they would have to sign their portion. And then we would get it back, and we would gather medical records, psychological records, school records, whatever may be needed to determine eligibility. If we need other assessments, VR would pay for, say like, if we need a psychological evaluation, VR would pay for the student to have an updated psychological evaluation. And then once we're able to determine eligibility, we go into another phase. If we need more assessments, such as assessments of their work habits, work behaviors, then we would do it at that point. And then we would go into what's called develop a plan for employment. And that would outline all of the VR services that we would provide along with the job goal. And that can be tweaked along the way as we need to. And the parent would also sign that if the individual is under 18 or has a legal guardian. It depends on the particular assessment. Usually it happens within the school. And say like the psychological evaluation, the vocational evaluation, those would typically happen within the school. If it's on a break, they could possibly come into the voc rehab office or go to other offices, but we try to make it as easy as possible for the students and for the parents, and we typically just bring them into the schools. Well, an employment plan we call an individualized plan for employment. So IPE is what we refer to it in voc rehab. And that is a plan that we put together that outlines all of the services that voc rehab will provide to the students along with their job goal. And like I mentioned before, this is kind of a work in progress as we go along. These services can change. We can add, delete, change a job goal as needed throughout the process. We referred in several ways. EC teacher could possibly refer, a staff member at the school, somebody if they're going to mental health, the mental health provider or the medical provider. The parent can refer. They can just call out voc rehab and refer their student, or if the student is 18, they can refer themselves. No, it's not just for students receiving special education services. Like I had mentioned, the criteria, as long as an individual meets that criteria, if they have some type of disabling condition, if they have a limitation to employment, if they are able to benefit from VR services, then they would be eligible for voc rehab services. For example, if somebody has ADHD and that ADHD is causing them not to focus, and and VR can come in and assist them with maybe finding the appropriate job, then they may meet the criteria. Or, for example, if somebody has, say, like uncontrolled diabetes and it's making them tired, or they may have neuropathy in their feet and they can't stand, that's some type of limitation. and we may be able to assist with them. And so, the individuals in special education receiving those services would probably be able to benefit, but it's not just for those individuals.
It's estimated that 1 out of 5 Americans qualify for vocational rehabilitation services. Now, they would receive different levels of services, but it's 20% of the population.
Well, they have to be working age, so it's 16 and at least in the 10th grade. Some of our services we don't start until about the 11th grade. So typically a student will be referred to me in the 11th grade on I do work with individuals up until their age 24, and then other counselors in the office work with individuals who are over 24 years of age. Several things that we do while the student is still in school. We do what's called employment marketing skills training, and we can also do vocational evaluations. And what those are evaluations to see what the student may be interested in. Now, once they get close to graduating, we look more at putting them to work. So we could put them with a job coach where they work one-on-one with that job coach to assist them finding employment and assist them in learning job duties. For those who may be going on the college bound, we may be able to assist them with college expenses if they qualify financially.
What we do is we really help students prepare for the job market. We, as Sherry said, we teach them employment marketing skills, and I like to teach people what employers are looking for. I like to teach them how to succeed in not just finding the job, but doing the job. And I break it down very simply. I tell everyone that employers are looking for 3 things. They're only looking for 3 things. Number 1, they're looking to see, if I hire you, can you do this job? Now, they don't expect that person to come in that day knowing how to make widgets, but they want to have somebody that they know can learn to do the job. So, if I hire you, can you do this job? Second, they want to know, if I hire you, can I rely on you? Can I depend on you? Will you be here? Will you be on time? Third, if I hire you, are you going to fit in? In other words, are we going to like you? Are you going to be somebody that we're going to be taking down to the human resources office, which is like the principal's office every other day? So employers are looking for 3 things, really. If I hire you, can you do the job? Second, if I hire you, can we rely on you? Can we depend on you? And third, are you going to fit in with us? And so I try to teach people, try to teach our students that if they understand that's what the employer is looking for, they can succeed. Because everything we do in what we call employment marketing skills is teaching that the student, the client, about these things and how they can deal with that in the interview, in searching for the job, and in doing the job. Well, in my role as business relations representative, I've got 2 main things that I do. We use the phrase job ready a lot. And so what I do is I help individuals become job ready. Or if they're already job ready, I help them in finding jobs. So the 2 principal things I do is help people get ready to go to work and then help them go to work. So I connect with the community to find out what employers are looking for, what type of employers are hiring, and I then network with those employers. In the old days in Caldwell County, when someone was getting ready to enter the workforce, the way it usually worked was their dad or their mom or their aunt or their uncle would take them down to the plant, down to the furniture factory or down to Netco or wherever, and then say, John or Mary's ready to go to work. and they basically would make the connection for them. And that's largely what I do now. I go out and make connections with employers. Then I take our students and our clients to those places, and I advocate for them. I help them connect with those places, because the experts say that 70%, or almost all the jobs that people get, they get through knowing somebody, through networking with somebody. So I help our clients, our students form their network, help them connect with these people that are looking to hire people. And I help them, as I said, get ready to go to work for these companies. So I help them with job preparation, job readiness preparation. That may be helping them learn how to do applications. That may be helping them with interviews. We do a lot of mock interviewing. Talk to them about what those employers are looking for. So everything I do is helping the individual either get ready to go to work or help them actually connect to make with the employer to get the job.
Well, what I do, like I had mentioned previously, that I keep in contact with the student. I develop the plan with the student and the parents. I determine the eligibility. And when I'm working with the student, I make sure that I provide the services in a timely manner and make sure that the process is going along smoothly.
And when the person is ready to enter the workforce, what I really strive to do is find a job that person wants to do. Because we know from experience that if a person's got a desire to do the job, they're much more likely to be successful. So we want to find something that matches their interest, that matches not just their ability, but their desires. So we spend a lot of time talking about what people want to do. And then we try, as much as the economy will allow us, to find something that's suitable and enjoyable for that person so that they'll have a greater opportunity for success.
Well, if a student is under 18, it is the family's role is very important, especially the guardians and the parents of the student. Like I had mentioned, the parents or the guardian will need to sign the paperwork, and we only have a certain time frame in order to get that paperwork back. So it's very important that the parent signs the paperwork, have the student sign the paperwork, and get it back to me quickly. I know that's one of the issues that we do face, is that sometimes we have to close cases because we don't get the paperwork back in a timely manner. And then also, once the student gets to the point of preparing for employment and getting employment, sometimes the students may not be able to drive, they don't have the driver's license, and so it would be the family's responsibility to transport that student to and from work or to interviews or things like that in order to obtain and maintain employment, because Voc Rehab, that we do not transport students to interviews or to their job. Provide the student with a referral packet to take home. And it's very important that the student and family fill out that referral packet, every question thoroughly and honestly, so I can get the information that I need. Now, if a student or a family member is having difficulty filling out that referral packet, then they can contact me and I will be able to assist them with filling it out, or the individual can come into the office and I can read them the questions that I need to fill out, and they can just provide me with answers for that. Sometimes within the school, the case manager has assisted the student or the family members with filling out the packets as well.
Once the student is job ready, they're ready to enter the workforce, I assist them with a lot of the paperwork. I can help them with the the application, particularly computer applications, because that's a new beast that intimidates a lot of people. But what we would need for documentation is it's very similar to what they would need in the VR entry process. They would need a picture ID and a physical copy of their Social Security card. Those are required documentation that the employers have to provide to the U.S. government. So they have to have the picture ID and the Social Security card.
And now, when Stephen says picture ID, that will include either a state ID, a driver's license, a driver's permit. That will not include the student ID, and so it has to be at least a state ID that they can get at DMV.
Yeah, a government issuing agency, like a picture, like a driver's license or learner's permit or state ID card.
Yeah, they absolutely can. What we look at is we have a benefits counselor to see how much that student is able to make before their benefits are affected. And so we can refer that student to the benefits counselor, but the student can absolutely participate in all of the voc rehab services that we provide. And we just look at what the benefits counselor provides and see what type of employment, and it's part-time usually, and how many hours and what pay they need to stay within the limits. Most services the student or family does not have to pay. There are particular services that a student or the family would have to pay, and we look at what's called cost services, and we do a financial form if we do put cost services on the plan, and we look at the parents' financial income and the family's financial income. So whoever is living in the house that is related to the student, we may look at their financial income to see if the student is financially eligible for these cost services. It could be tuition for college, books, things like that. If you need some type of device in order to assist you, which is called assistive technology, then you may have to, we look at the financial aspect of that as well. But most services such as what Stephen does, employment marketing skills training, the vocational evaluation, counseling and guidance throughout the process, finding employment, all of those services the student nor the family has to pay for. Process that VR takes in order to prepare that student, determine eligibility, whatever, in order to become employed. And at the beginning, with eligibility, like I had mentioned, we gather medical records, psychological records, school records, and we have 60 days in order to do that. And we want to make sure that this condition is chronic, and so it's not just an acute, say like somebody broke an ankle. We wouldn't consider that a condition that would qualify for voc rehab services, and so that's why we're gathering those medical records, just to make sure that it's a chronic condition and it causes limitations to employment. And so we have 60 days in order to gather those records. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer to get those records in, so we may have to extend that time. And then we go into the next phase, and if we need other assessments, that may take longer. And then, for the plan for employment, and then that will determine what grade you're in and how long it takes for you to get to what Stephen keeps referring to as job ready, would determine how long that process will take as well.
And if an individual is ready to enter the workforce, like say they just graduated from high school, a lot of things are going to be, it's going to depend upon a lot of factors. One, what type of job the person's looking for, what the economy is at that moment. But we have situations where people will come to us and they've just graduated, they're ready to enter the workforce. We may be able to assist them in finding employment within a couple of weeks, or sometimes even within a week. Other times, depending upon what that individual's looking for, it may take several weeks or even several months. So there's a lot of factors involved, but we are there to help them and assist them each step of the way as they're pursuing their work interest. And one of the things that I really try to do is not just help someone find a job for now. I try to help them develop the skills so that they can find their next job on their own.
Part of the process that we do is that we want to make sure that the student does well on the job and that they're able to maintain the job. And so what we do is we follow the student for at least 90 days after they obtain employment to make sure that they are continuing to do well. And we will check up with them on at least a monthly basis just to make sure that they do well. And it's important for the student or the family to keep in contact with the voc rehab counselor also, just to let them know any issues that they may have on a job, because myself or Steven or the job coach, if they're working with one, can come on that job, maybe talk with the employer to try to assist that student with maintaining that employment.
We use the phrase feedback a lot, and we do ask for feedback, or basically ask for our clients to tell us how they're doing and if they're comfortable in that job, because we really want them to succeed. And if they're into the job 4 or 5 weeks and they feel like it's not working out, we want to see if we can make some kind of adaptation, or we can do something to make it a better situation, or to decide, you know what, maybe we need to look for something else. So we ask for their input. We ask them to tell us, how's it going? And we do that by making phone calls. As Sherry said, sometimes it might be Sherry calling, sometimes it might be me calling. Sometimes we tell them, look, we're only a phone call away. Just give us a call if we can do anything to help you, because we want you to succeed.
Once we have determined that a student has been able to maintain employment successfully, voc rehab will close the case. Now once that happens, and say like something happens with a job and they need VR services again, they can always reapply for voc rehab services, and then we'll go through the process of eligibility and all of that again to assist them with whatever they may need. What we require is that the student be involved in the VR process, and so they're able to give input throughout the process, and the student and the parents or the guardian is able to work with the voc rehab counselor, which is myself, to have the input along the way. And it's very important that the student and the parents keep in contact with myself. If they change addresses, phone numbers, it's important that the VR counselor or whoever the person is working with in the voc rehab, that they keep in contact and update that contact information, because we are required to keep in regular contact with the student and make sure that the process is going along in a smooth manner.
And what I need from our students is a commitment, because one of the things that I pointed out earlier, that what employers are looking for is reliability. So I need to know that this person's reliable. I'm going to be learning that by the fact that the person keeps their appointments, by the fact that that person returns my phone calls, that that person calls me, that they're showing the initiative and the commitment that makes them job ready, that phrase that we always use, job ready. Their interactions with us helps to demonstrate that they are reliable, dependable, and job ready.
Contact me. The phone number here is 828-757-5639, And our physical address is 675 Penton Avenue Southwest in Lenoir. We are located right behind Hardee's on 18. So if you're going up toward the hospital, you would take the first right onto Penton Ave, and we would be the second building on the right.